What's going on, guys? Welcome back to a brand new video and welcome back to a little mini series that I'm starting. Well, it may be actually a massive series, depends how you guys enjoy it, and that is fighters in every UFC game. And by every UFC game, I of course mean every EA Sports UFC game, because it's very hard to find fighters that are in Undisputed 2009 all the way to UFC 4. So I thought, you know what, let's focus on the EA Sports UFC games from UFC 1 up to UFC 4. Maybe another time I'll do like a fighter in all 7 games from Undisputed 2009, 2010, 3, then 1, 2, 3 and 4. Maybe I'll do that. As of right now, we're just going to stick to the EA Sports UFC games. And for today's video, we are going to look at one of the former pound-for-pound kings and one of the best martial artists, UFC fighters, in my opinion, on the planet, and that is Johnny Bones Jones. Now, for these videos, I'm going to kind of compare them in order how they look visually to one another, their stats and overall, and then I'll show you guys like a minute of gameplay with a finish, and I'll talk to you guys about how they each feel in the game, and kind of which one feels more realistic, really. So without further ado, guys, let's jump into the gameplay. So right off the bounce, we've got UFC 1 stats, 97 overall. Now, this game came out in 2014, 17th of June. And prior to this, from 2011, he had beaten Rampage Jackson, Machida, Evans, Belfort, Sonnen, Gustafsson, and he had just beat Glover Teixeira before this game came out. So you can see his stats are insane across the board. 21-1 at this point. He hadn't quite fought Daniel Cormier yet at the time of this game coming out. I don't know whether or not they updated his wins. I don't think they did. I think it was 21-1 after the Glover fight, but I could be wrong there. And then we cut across to UFC 2. Now, UFC 2 came out March 15th, 2016. So they were then going off his Cormier win, and then obviously his Over St. Preux win was just shortly after this game came out. So, of course, he had one fight between those 2 games. Not very impressive, but of course he was still considered one of the pound-for-pound best despite the failed drugs tests, and still was champion when this game came out. So that's one thing to take into consideration. His takedown only being a 69 is interesting in this game, being the fact that he had taken down DC, but I suppose, like I said, he hadn't fought for a long time. Stats still absolutely insane though, as you can see. Just a force to be reckoned with. While he wasn't like very used in this game because like the style didn't really fit the game in my opinion, still insane and insane fighter perks. We go across to UFC 3. This game came out 2nd of February 2018, and between those 2 games he had the Over St. Preux fight in 2016 of April, the no contest fight Daniel Cormier in 2017, and then he actually didn't fight Gustafsson again until December 2018. So only 23-1 between that year, so it was pretty pointless, really. He was still insanely rated, though. You can see just always been one of the top. Then we go across to UFC 4, which came out the 14th of August 2020, and between UFC 3 and UFC 4, he had fought Alexander Gustafsson the second time. He had beaten Anthony Smith, Thiago Santos, and Dominic Reyes on points. So they obviously give him, of course, pretty good stats, being a 5-star kickboxer in the light heavyweight division, which is fair. And arguably, people said he lost the Reyes fight and the Santos fight was extremely close, and he could have been disqualified in the Smith fight, but still always been one of the highest rated fighters across the board in every single UFC game that he has been in. Now I'm going to jump across to visuals, so just how he looks after the fight, just the celebration. Then I'm going to show you guys a screenshot across all 4 games side by side so you guys can see what he looks like in all those different games. So let's start with UFC 1. Of course, this was back when he had those red shorts before the Reebok and all the Venom deal, and that kicked in. Then we've got UFC 2 with the Reebok. The only thing that really changes, you see, is his hair gets shorter and his beard gets longer. So that's pretty much all you see there. They actually added his proper celebration in for UFC 2, and then obviously had the same celebration across for UFC 3 as well. And yet again, his hair is shorter and his beard is longer. It was interesting that he never really changed how he looked. Like, you know, he never got fat, never got like super skinny. He looks more like DC said, he looks like a crackhead in a suit in UFC 4, in my opinion, just with the bald and the big beard and stuff. But you know, yeah. Overall, John Jones always looked the same. Seems like he doesn't age very much, to be honest, despite his insane outside the octagon lifestyle. And then we've got the side by side, like I said, and you can tell that's John Jones. I think my favourite is probably UFC 1 and UFC 3. Those are probably my two favourites for this screenshot. Let me know what your one, what your guys' favourite is. But I mean, I was never a fan of the Reebok shit anyways. I always hated it. But yeah, all look pretty good. All good scans, assuming they're all new. But you can definitely see, looking at those stats before we jump into the gameplay, you can definitely see the difference in his stats from where he was like 97 overall, where he was just steamrolling light heavyweight division, to then dropping down to like just 93, 94, just because he was having one fight a year. And I think they were always just giving him his stats off the hope that he's going to come back and he's going to dominate again, and he never really did. Get into the gameplay, we've got UFC 1 here. UFC 1 is an interesting game. You can definitely fight like Jon Jones, use your elbows, use your single shots, but you can also fight very much not like Jon Jones. You can give him like a real boxer combination shit. You can use the leg kicks, and the leg kicks land really nice, and the body kicks land really nice as well. Jon Jones is, for me, when I watch him, he's very much a single punch kind of guy, catching legs, taking down, some good ground and pound, some nice oblique kicks that you can definitely land, as you saw there in this gameplay. He feels pretty good. He definitely feels good. He feels quick. His shots do feel like they pack a punch. Of course, I wouldn't argue that he's overtly powerful in real life, but in the game they obviously give him insane power because he just was so good in real life. You can see the front kicks land really nice. And the kicks that he does throw, he's definitely better than his punches. Nice axe kick there, spinning kick, followed up. So you can definitely put some really nice stuff together with Jon. I was trying to use a lot of kicks like he does in real life, those oblique kicks, axe kicks, things like. I was trying to get the axe kick KO, to be honest, but ended up getting that spin and heel kick KO, which I don't think Jones has ever done in real life. UFC 2 we go across. Now, UFC 2 was, in my opinion, super boxer friendly. That's the style you wanted. The knockout animations were insane. Stuff that Jones had never done. Uppercutted a man off his feet, you know what I mean? So, UFC 2, like I said, was around the time that he'd beat Ovin St. Preux, just coming back. So, I don't really think the Jon Jones style fit into UFC 2 very nice. The only thing that really was lovely about Jon Jones in UFC 2, in my opinion, were the elbows. Jon Jones has vicious elbows in real life, and in this game they really let you use them, as well as the front kicks were nice, but the elbows are where it's at. But Jon Jones never had elbows so powerful that they threw people back. It just hurt them and done some damage. But here you can see I rock him with a couple of elbows, hit him with, that was great game. But the Jon Jones style, if you want to simulate Jon Jones' style in UFC 2, you're not going to have as much success, in my opinion, because the game is so wild, and Jon Jones is not like that. But that, like, elbow over the top of the head to drop him, that's lovely, but you'll see the knockout here is just insane. I mean, when has Jon Jones ever done that? But overall, really good. Now, UFC 3 was my favourite for Jones. UFC 4 is great for Jones as well, to be honest, but UFC 3, you really get to pick those individual shots. Like I said, he hadn't fought much, but was still insanely high overall. Being able to pick those single shots in this game felt much nicer. Of course, UFC 2 was more fluid, but UFC 3, you really got to pick those individual shots. As you can see, I'm putting together some combinations, or I'm just walking him down the Jon Jones style, nice oblique kick, and then moving away. So I feel like the newer UFC games, UFC 3 and UFC 4, definitely give you that freedom for single shots, whereas UFC 1 and UFC 2, you do want to put together huge fluid combinations, which is lovely. But when you're using Jon Jones, I don't really think Jon Jones is I don't know. I mean, he does put together good combinations in real life, but he's not I wouldn't say he's a combination fighter, really. I'd say he's more of a single shot fighter, uses all the tools because he is an insane martial artist. That's just my opinion anyways. You guys may disagree. Of course, he had good submissions as well, which you saw in the UFC 2 gameplay. I had Musasi in a submission, but I didn't want to make him tap. And the question mark kick is just perfect. So you see what I mean there? Just that one kick puts him out. And then we've got UFC 4. Like I said, he had just, when this game dropped, he had then come off the Smith victory, the Gustafsson second victory, then the Smith, then the Santos, and then the Dominic Reyes victory. So, yeah, again, I'm trying to pick these single shots. UFC 4, I think, is, in my opinion, it's not the best game, but I would say it's the best for Jones. I feel like it's the best you could replicate him. 3 or 4 is definitely the best you can replicate him. Maybe it's because they give him his long, lankier frame, and I think you more feel like Jones in UFC 4, in my opinion, being able to take your time and throw those kicks. You guys may disagree, but that's just how I felt using Jones. But overall, a great fighter across the board. Never really changed. I'm going to go through some fighters that maybe have gone up and gone down, because a lot of fighters, obviously, like Jones, for example, just got better and better and better, or stayed the same. But you can see he's just got insane power. Like, when is Jones ever going to put massive power hooks together like this? That's the only thing with these games. They're always going to give you that option, and the elbow just completely flattened him there. So overall, Jones across the years, since UFC games have started coming out, Since like the first one dropped, you could say he beat Alexander Gustafsson the first time, Glover Teixeira, Daniel Cormier, Ovince St. Preux, Alexander Gustafsson again, Anthony Smith, Thiago Santos and Dominic Reyes. Now of course the first one, they would have based it off all of his UFC victories, going from Ryan Bader, Shogun Rua to win the belt, then Rampage, Machida, Evans, Belfort, Sonnen, and so on and so forth. So he's always had a really consistent high overall. Always been very powerful, always been insane on the ground. The only thing that I would say is obviously they have to make them powerful, but you wouldn't argue that Jon Jones is that knockout artist. While he's got 10 knockouts and 10 KOs/TKOs, a lot of them are pressure victory KOs. The Shogun Rua is a prime example. That's just like on the floor, just battering him. Nasty body shot, yeah, to drop him, but it's just like battering him. You know, Jon Jones, even with the Daniel Cormier one, kicking him in the head like that rocked him and he fell to the ground and then he got ground and pounded. And that's just the way it be. You know, I mean, his earlier pro fights, in his first 6, he had 5 knockouts. So since being in the UFC, he TKO'd, Brandon Vera, Vladimir, Mauricio Shogun Rua, like I said, Chael Sonnen, of course, and then Alexander Gustafsson pretty recently, and obviously the Daniel Cormier one was a no contest. So not a huge amount of KOs, but they do give him more power than I think he deserves. But it's because you can't really replicate Jones' style, I don't believe, because he is such a jack of all trades. He is such a complete martial artist. He's absolutely insane as a martial artist, and it's amazing to watch. So across the games, he feels great, but I don't think you'll ever really be able to replicate his style. I think the best shot you have, in my opinion, while I don't like UFC 4, I think UFC 4 is the best shot to replicate his style, to use those single shots, you know, use those oblique kicks, use those body kicks, get those standing submission attempts, get that clinch, and, you know, get those catch and leg takedowns and things like that with Jones. But overall, Jones is great across all 4 games. I'll be interested to see what he's like in UFC 5. I will be comparing UFC 5 Jones to UFC 1, 2, 3, and 4 at some point when the game drops, obviously. And next up, I've got between 3 fighters that I've got videos for recorded: Conor McGregor, Khabib Nurmagomedov, and Stipe Miocic. And then I'm going to go for maybe like someone like BJ Penn, Tony Ferguson, someone that's kind of gone up and down throughout the years. So yeah, let me know your thoughts in the comments down below. Thank you as always for watching, and I'll catch you guys in the next one. Peace.